2023. First, I'll go through the roll call. Vice Chair Tessman.
Present.
I've got an email from Commissioner Aliff that he's unable to attend. Commissioner Kilcup.
Present.
Commissioner Crone.
Present.
Commissioner Lambert.
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Okay, as of good advance notice, I'd move that we excuse Commissioner Aliff from tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to move that we approve the November 20th, 2023 agenda as written. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, agenda is approved. Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? Hey, look at the Zoom. I don't see any. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is council liaison report. Actually, since Councilmember Johnson's outside, let me move to approve the minutes dated November 11th as written. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so we've approved the minutes dated November 11th, 2023 as written. So at this point, I'd like to move on to the council liaison report. Fast and Furious.
Document here that could refer to you in 1 second. Oh, right. Sorry, I'm just waiting for a document to load here. Hang on 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay, greetings, Commission. Couple of things I wanted to talk about. First was that at the Community Development Committee tonight, we finished going over or reviewing the couple of elements for the comprehensive plan that the Planning Commission recommended to us. We forwarded them on to council with just a couple of questions, just to clarify a few things, but no revisions. And those are the land use and the economic development components. So just a tremendous thanks to the Planning Commission and the Economic Development Commission as well for their hard work on those elements. You just make things work so much more smoothly. Let's see what else. Okay. Covered that, and then the only other thing that I wanted to mention was that we are coming up on the mid-biennium budget amendment, and the biggest change that we are looking at is in terms of staffing for the Community Development Department, which of course directly impacts the Planning Commission, since that's the department that you work with most frequently. So we are likely going to be cutting some staff there. And the reasoning is that the quote unquote build out of Snoqualmie Ridge has been essentially completed. There are a couple of parcels sprinkled around, but there's nothing significant. And so it just seems like there's a little bit less need than there was before. But that said, that does mean that things could move a little bit more slowly, potentially, especially any big things. So I want to make sure that that the commission was aware of that. One possibility to alleviate some of those issues could be to continue contracting some of the work, which we've done over the last year anyway, as we've had a few vacancies in the department. But we seem to have been floating okay for the time being, so that was another justification, and that will help us to balance the budget moving forward. We are looking at a very steep hill to climb with the budget this next coming year, so we're going to need to sharpen our pencils quite a bit. Let's see. I think the only other thing that I could mention that is new, I don't think they talked about it last time, was that I'm going to get the name of it wrong, so I might ask staff for a little help here, but the Department of Transportation Commission overseeing the potential transfer of highway, of Snoqualmie Parkway to the state as an extension of Highway 18 was delayed. They didn't give us a yes or a no. They said, well, there are a few issues that we need to resolve between the Department of Transportation and the city, different interpretations of some of the language of what allows for such a transfer. And the administration is ongoing with their work, communicating with the Department of Transportation. And they seem to have indicated at our last council meeting that there may be a light at the end of that tunnel. So the decision that we were all expecting didn't happen, but hopefully we can come to a resolution at some point that's favorable to everyone involved. But with that, I'd love to take any questions if you have any.
Okay, and I do plan to poll the commissioners at present, but I do want to ask, since we have had people scraping cars over the last week or so, are we ready for the first snowfall? Are we ready for 6 inches of snow?
That kind of scraping. I thought you meant keying people's cars. I was hoping.
Oh, no,
Yes,
I don't
scraping
want
windshields.
Yes.
Yeah, are we ready? That's a very good question. The first step, do we have enough salt for the roads?
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah,
Excellent.
We have trucks with plows on already. This time of year,
Perfect.
every year, after Halloween, we get these 2 trucks fitted with plows and ready to go. One of our big trucks has the sander in the back and the plow on it, and then we have a 2-ton that's got a plow mounted on it. So we're ready to go.
For the commissioners who are remote, I'm not sure if they heard all of that, but basically we've got a couple of trucks that are ready to go. I remember that last year we had a couple of new staff that were in training. Am I remembering that correctly?
As far as plowing,
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We trained everybody last year.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, one of the snows, I don't remember which one, I think it was in February or so. There was some complaints that the response was a little bit slow from the city, and that was one of the main issues, was training the staff up to use equipment. But that has occurred, so hopefully that won't be an issue moving forward, and hopefully we have enough salt for the roads.
Okay, let me good to go around the room here. Vice Chair Testman, any questions?
No questions for me tonight, Chair.
Okay, Councilmember Kilcup,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Crone,
No questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Lambert,
No questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Smith.
Not at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson. Okay, at this point, we move on to the next agenda item. Here, which is transportation element.
Yeah. Chair Marisiak,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Emily Arteche with Community Development.
Central
Yeah,
Transportation.
we have our consultant back, Carla from Petite, to walk you through the last steps of the transportation element. So Carla, are you here?
I am here.
Great.
Yes. I will start off by saying my internet connection seems a little unstable right now. So if I get warbly, I'm sorry, and I might end up turning off my screen if that happens. But I think we should be able to take care of business relatively quickly. Our last meeting to wrap the transportation element goals and policies is tonight. And what I'm bringing forward for your consideration and confirmation is the revisions of the policies that were identified as part of your November 6th meeting, as well as introducing one additional goal that I inadvertently missed and left off the list from our last meeting. So I do apologize for that, but we do get one more chance to take a look at that. So with that, I'll go ahead and have you go to the next slide. Right, so these two revisions are relatively minor, but they do fall under the travel demand and environmental stewardship topic. The first one is consider additional opportunities, including leveraging grants forth. So that's the additional language. The installation of electrical vehicle recharge and alternate fuel refueling stations to actively encourage and promote the use of electric and alternative fueled vehicles.
Okay, any comments? Don't see any hands up. Okay, go ahead.
Great, and then the second one, amendment or revision, I should say, you guys had a great conversation about encouraging environmental protection and enhancement. And so even though the amendments look minor, they actually are powerful in their effect. So design transportation facility improvements consistent with city stormwater regulations, which minimize impacts and encourages fish passage and wildlife habitat areas and corridors.
Good, good. Again, looking for any hands up. Don't see any. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, next slide. All right, so this is moving to planning, design, and maintenance. Encourage design of new development to provide efficient, pedestrian-friendly traffic circulation. You guys will likely recall that at the last meeting there was a bit of discussion about the cul-de-sac, dead-end streets, and what are we really trying to get at with this policy. So hopefully this does the trick for you.
Yeah, I think it captures it. That was a good discussion. Any planning commissioner comments at this point? Yeah, don't see any hands. Okay, good. That was a good rewording. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then I think this is our last slide. These are the goals. And so we have one revision to one goal that was presented to you regarding safe trails. This did, as you might recall, the conversation actually had to do with lighting. I couldn't quite really figure out how to add lighting in there to make, I don't know, it seemed like it didn't work, but safety is really what you guys were talking about. So hopefully this does the trick for you for addressing safety and on your trail system.
And what do we think?
Not quite.
Is there a way to call out lighting directly there? I mean, saying safe is kind of vague. What do you think? Any comments?
I guess I would say the one comment I had, and perhaps the public works staff might have a comment, is that lighting is not possible in in each kind of trail system, and it depends on funding, infrastructure, what type of trail it is. And so if we wanted to put lighting, I would recommend something like lighting if feasible.
I also, sorry, just to ask a question. Are we talking about trails that are in like along roadways? Or are we talking about trails that are in our parks? Where are we not making that distinction?
We're not making that distinction because this is a goal. So it's not as specific as a policy. And so this is going to talk about, in general, at a high level, all of your trails.
I mean,
This is
And
Commissioner.
you do have policy. I'm sorry.
I think it was my comment initially about the lighting, but I think that was a nice clarification from Commissioner Lambert about, I'm okay if we say something about lighting where feasible. yeah, the safe kind of falls a little short of, I think, what I was hoping for. Not that it's not wrong, it just seems.
It can
um,
be interpreted, I mean, what is safe for one is safe for another, so. for instance,
Exactly.
Lighting where feasible, I think we're calling out the fact that where it makes sense, where there's power and where it's a improved trail. Such as up and down the parkway, which is lit, but other places like that, if it's feasible, we ought to do more lighting. Okay. And I see we
Okay.
have that captured here, good, okay.
Can I, if possible, if I could read something to you so that we can get confirmation? How about encourage a system of safe trails and corridors with lighting, if feasible, that supports non-motorized travel for commuting, local trips, and healthy physical activity?
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, fantastic. That we will make that change. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, and this is the last, which is a new goal. Again, I apologize for inadvertently leaving it off. It does have to do with the maintenance and our design and maintenance of the existing city's transportation system. So design, maintain, preserve, and extend the life and utility of the city's transportation system and investments. So again, this is a goal. There is a body of policies that will fall under this goal.
okay. Any comments?
Hmm.
I think it works as a goal. Okay,
Yeah.
good. That was the last one for the
That
goal.
was,
My comment is, I'm not sure what that says. What does that say? Design,
design,
serve, and extend the life and utility of the transportation system and investments? Are we going to, so we want to, are we just saying that we want to design the transportation system and investments? Maintain the transportation? Is there needs to be an action item here? I'm not sure what this means.
I believe it's a maintenance, a preservation goal.
correct.
Would you suggest if you took out design, if you said maintain, preserve, and extend the life of and utility of city's transportation system and investments, if you took out the word design, would that work?
Well, don't we already maintain, preserve, and extend the life and utility of our transportation system and investments?
Would hope so.
I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, is that, all right. It's kind of stating the obvious to me. I don't know, I just don't know if this, how that works as a goal, but.
Well, there are a number.
So the policies that.
There are a number of
Sorry.
localities that do not maintain their infrastructure, and you can tell. So we're saying keep it as a goal. We're not saying it hasn't been done. We're saying let's keep it as a goal to keep it being maintained and preserved.
Yeah, maybe I'd remove the word design then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I might disagree on removing the word design. I think it could be reworked, but I think starting with when at the design phase, that's sometimes when you think through the life cycle of any given, what materials you're using and those types of things that will ensure the life, a longer life, rather than just purely making decisions by budget.
Then I might propose something like, provide methods of design, maintenance, and preservation to extend the life and utility of the transportation system.
Yeah, that's better.
Mhm.
Yeah, or something to that effect. Just start with, provide methods of design, maintenance, and preservation to extend the life, etc. Maybe rework that a little bit. Methods maybe isn't quite the right word, but.
I'm curious, Carla, what falls under this goal? it more so. So are we skewing it in a way that it doesn't make sense?
No, I think I understand the conversation. I think it would be helpful if I had the goals, and I was thinking about trying to pull them up so I could read them to you, but there is the set of policies that fall under this that do address the maintenance, the preservation of the street system. So there's the policy of maintaining a street preservation program, the policy of establishing, the transportation improvement plan. So it does fall under the maintaining and preserving, although there is a policy that talks about new roadways shall be. And so I know that it's not, in fact, the one that the encouraged design of new developments to provide efficient pedestrian friendly traffic circulation that we just went over falls under this actual topic. So I know it's a little bit hard to understand this goal without the policies to give it context, but I think that provide methods of design, maintenance, and preservation to extend the life and utility of the city's transportation system and investments. If that works for you, I think it still fits for what the policies are going to be.
Okay, then that works for me.
Okay, yeah. Community Development Director, Jay, did you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have all those design
Well, all those words mean that from the get-go, if we're gonna do something like the parkway or whatnot, we think, okay, what's it gonna take to preserve it, extend the life, and maintain it? And I mean, actually, I see the point with those words. If you just put protect, I think it's too light. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Lambert, did you have a comment?
Well, I was wondering, are you trying to say that we are designing in a fashion to make it easy to maintain, preserve, and extend the life? So like,
Yes.
for example, we don't want to plant a garden that, has annuals where we'd have to replant them every single year versus
Right.
perennials where we could get shrubs that they just come back. So we're designing in a way that makes it easy to maintain, preserve, and extend the life, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're getting at?
Yes, that's how I view it.
Yeah, that's why I think the design is important, because there's certain decisions that you would make that might be a little bit more expensive, but make the maintenance so much better over the decades that it might be in place.
Okay. So we'll wordsmith that one, but generally keep the idea in place. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's different ways to.
I mean, you can wordsmith it a bit, but the idea, I think we've talked about, yeah.
The intent would be to go forward with
Mhm.
after this meeting, we would send it off to the Parks and Public Works.
Yeah.
Committee. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. And you can wordsmith something forever, trust me. So I think we're moving right along, so. Okay.
Is that it? Oh, yes.
Okay, is that it for the transportation piece of the agenda?
Mhm.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is capital facilities.
Mhm.
All right. Hello, Commissioners. Martin Shaw here with FCS Group. Emily, do you want me to share my screen, or would you like to share your screen?
We can, hi, Martin, we can share here.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Right. Thank you, Commissioners, for having me back. Again, for the record, Martin Shaw, Project Manager with FCS Group. As you recall, at our last meeting, we had an overview of the capital facilities element and what it includes. Tonight, we're going to do a little bit of deeper dive into proposed policies for consideration. This is included in your packets beginning on page 11. So let's start off on this slide here. So in terms of our general approach for developing the policies for consideration, commissioners did a couple of things. Number one is we reviewed existing policies and we attempted to try to clean it up by removing duplicative policies, updated language so that they're consistent with changes to countywide planning policies and state law, and then also updating policies so that it reflects the Puget Sound Regional Council's 2050 vision, and as well as the Washington State Department of Commerce and their periodic update checklist for cities. Next slide. So in terms of our current goal for this element, commissioners, the current goal is reads as quality and reliable public services and infrastructure are delivered to the city's current and future residents. We do not propose any changes to this goal, but I just want to just pause here for a moment and see if you have any comments on the existing goal language.
I don't, but let me, any comment? Go ahead, raise your hand if you do. I don't see any hands up. Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next slide, please. All right, so I have about 8 pages of bullets here to go through, commissioners. We'll just go through them at a fairly steady pace. And please do stop me if you have any questions. So
at the end of a slide, so it looks like you've got 5 bullets on the slide. Why don't we pause and I'll poll the commissioners. So the commissioners, as you go through here, think if there's something you've got to say at the end of the slide. I'll do a quick poll and then we'll move on to the next slide. That way everybody's got a chance to consider.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before we start going over the specific policies here, commissioners, just to provide some context, over the next 8 slides, you're going to see policies around 4 areas. The first area is infrastructure maintenance, which you see on this slide here, regional coordination, utility reliability, and capital facilities maintenance. So that would be the order of the themes that we'll go through. So let's start on the slide here. So Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and just read through the bullets that's on this slide, and then we'll pause for comments. So bullet number 1, adopt level of service standards to accommodate growth concurrent with development. Bullet number 2, seek grants to fund capital improvements whenever feasible and plan for available funding to support the city's share of planned improvements. Manage city debt. And forgive me, there's a typo there. So manage city debt effectively while maintaining reserves for emergencies. Bullet number 4, allocate city sewer and water connection fees primarily for capital improvements related to facility expansion. And bullet number 5, size essential capital facilities to meet the long-term demands of the community, comma, and when feasible, comma, phase facility development to match capital investments with actual community needs.
Okay, thank you. I know I've got at least one question, but let me poll the commission first. Vice Chair Testman, any comments on any of these bullets?
None on those.
Commissioner Kilcup? Commissioner Kilcup?
Sorry, I could not find my mute button.
Yeah.
The only one I had question on was the first bullet. It just seems odd to me, like that we're not calling out the level of service. That one just confused me a little bit. If we're trying to maintain a certain level of service, yeah, I guess I'm just a little confused on that one.
So if I could respond to that, Commissioner. So in terms of the level of service standards, so this would be level of service standards for all areas of the city, like police, fire, parks, etc., transportation. So rather than calling out the specific level of service standards for each of those elements, for example, we would refer to that we would adopt level of service standards, citywide in each of those areas. And those level of service standards would be called out in other parts of your comprehensive plan. And those level of service goals would then serve as the guidepost for the city to construct and maintain its infrastructure to meet those level of service guidelines or standards that you establish.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, anything else, Commissioner Kokop?
Am I the only one confused by that bullet?
I thought there's more detail. I was okay with it.
Okay.
I can't speak for everybody. Commissioner Crone,
No comments for me on this slide.
Commissioner Lambert,
No comments.
Commissioner Smith,
No comments.
okay. I've actually got a similar comment on the third bullet. Manage city debt effectively while maintaining reserves for emergency. Is there a quantification later on about the amount of reserves that we're required to have?
So there are couple areas for reserves, Commissioner. So one is, of course, within your city's general fund, and I'd have to take a look back at your specific city policies, but typically most cities will maintain a general fund reserve policy of about 12%, or about 2.5 to 3 months of reserves.
Is that written anywhere?
That should be written in your city's financial policies. I can look that up after the meeting and send you the link.
Okay. Sounds like it is quantified and it's 2.5 to 3 months, roughly 12%. Okay. All right. Okay. We've got everybody pulled, so let's go on to the next slide.
Okay. Thank you. Again, we're still on infrastructure maintenance, commissioners, and this will be the last slide on infrastructure maintenance. So bullet number 1, evaluate new and existing sources of funding for services, maintenance, and infrastructure. Bullet number 2, ensure parks facility users are paying a reasonable share of the costs of operating and maintaining the facilities. Bullet number 3, provide adequate infrastructure in applicable areas to support the development of regional centers. Bullet number 4, avoid growth in areas that cannot be adequately served by utilities. And then bullet number 5, define essential public facilities consistent with the revised Code of Washington and the Growth Management Act. And commissioners, those bullets in purple, we propose those in specific response to specific statements within the Vision 2050 document of the Puget Sound Regional Council.
And the definition of a regional center, if I recall, was it had bus transportation, it'd be rail stop. We were debating if the Better Way, Fisher Creek, if that was big enough, but definitely downtown would be a regional center, and Snoqualmie Ridge would have to be a regional center.
Right. Yeah, this one, Commissioner, thank you, Mr. Chair. This one speaks specifically to development patterns policy number 25 in the Vision 2050 document. And that statement within Vision 2050 states, support the development of centers within all jurisdictions, comma, including high capacity transit station areas and county-wide and local centers.
Okay. Okay. At this point, let me do the round robin again. Vice Chair Tessman, any comment?
No, Chair, thanks.
Commissioner Kilcup,
No comment.
Commissioner Crone,
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert.
Yeah, real quick, the second bullet point, ensure parks facility users are paying for the operating and maintaining the facilities. I'm thinking most of our parks are open. How is anybody paying for use of those other than taxes?
So good question, Commissioner. So these would be user fees. So for example, if you're, and you're correct, in general, your parks would be open to the public for their use at any time. But in terms of user fees, for example, if the local soccer team wants to reserve your soccer field for a game or for practice, for example.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I missed that. Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else, Commissioner Lambert?
No, thank you.
Just one more. Commissioner Smith?
Nothing at this time on those.
Okay, Councilmember Johnson?
Thank you. Yeah, I just pulled up our financial policies. I didn't want to jump up and say the number without looking at it first. For the general fund, it's 15 to 20% of expenditures.
Ah, very good. Okay,
So
good,
pretty high.
good. Thank you. Okay, we've done the round robin on this slide. Let's move on to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, so let's shift gears. The next topic is regional coordination, and I do have 2 slides on this. So the first one is regional coordination with the Snoqualmie Valley School District. So annually adopt by reference the Snoqualmie Valley School District 6-year capital facility plan and update school impact fees on new residential units to ensure that school facilities will be provided to meet projected growth. And then bullet number 2, participate in interjurisdictional efforts to cite essential capital facilities and pursue agreements among jurisdictions to mitigate against the disproportionate burden that may fall on the jurisdiction which becomes the site of a facility.
Okay, I've got a question, but let me pull the commission. Vice Chair Tessman? Vice Chair Tessman?
No, thank you, Chair. Sorry, wouldn't work for me.
Commissioner Kilcup?
No comments.
Commissioner Crone?
No comment. Still digesting.
Commissioner Lambert?
No comment.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, could you remind me, refresh my memory on what qualifies as an essential capital facility? Is it things like cell towers, or is it bigger like prisons, right?
I think in the definition of an essential capital facility, a commissioner that could include facilities such as prisons, for example, but it could also include other things such as a regional transfer station for solid waste, a wastewater treatment facility, for example. So I think it could include a range of activities that's relevant to the management of regional services. Think of King County, for example.
So in this case, this would be another jurisdiction's county, state would be looking to cite essential capital facility in city of Snoqualmie, and so we would enter an interlocal agreement with them versus not us proactively looking to offer to cite essential facilities for those jurisdictions.
Right. I think this would be around the concept of negotiating with that regional government. Nothing as glamorous as a transfer station, right, or a wastewater treatment facility, for example, but let's think about, for example, a regional trail. For example, the bike trail that went through East Lake Sammamish in Redmond, and the siting discussions that King County had with the city as well as homeowners, and its impact to properties. So it could be definition of capital, essential capital facilities could include recreational facilities, regional capital facilities like that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, good. And I just wanted to make sure I understood the word interjurisdictional. I mean, it could be like you described, city to city of Sammamish up through Renton, could be Snoqualmie, North Bend, right? Could it also be city to county?
Yes.
Could be. Okay.
State.
Okay. So and state. Okay. So jurisdiction is a pretty grandfather word there. Okay, I got it. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last slide, Commissioners, on regional coordination. First bullet, if the city is selected as a state or regional capital facility site, comma, or is otherwise impacted by such a facility, comma, ensure appropriate mitigation for local impact is provided. Bullet number 2, coordinate with neighboring jurisdictions on infrastructure projects that cross city boundaries in planning, comma, development, comma, and design. And then last bullet, work with the Snoqualmie Valley School District to meet existing and future community needs, comma, including safe, comma, walkable schools.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, let me do the round robin again. Vice Chair Tessman,
All good, thank you.
Commissioner Kilcup,
I'm also good. Thank you.
Commissioner Crone,
No comment, thank you.
Commissioner Lambert,
I'm good, thanks.
Commissioner Smith.
Nope, no questions.
All right. An example, I was thinking of the last slide of a regional capital facility site would be the National Guard facility that's going up in North Bend, right? That'd be one of the examples.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. The next slide will deal with utility reliability, and this will cover the next 3 slides, Commissioners. So the first bullet, plan for the general locations for major or trunk utility facility locations and consider designating routes and locations suitable for facility improvements, comma, subject to development regulations. Second bullet, coordinate with other jurisdictions to implement multi-jurisdictional facility improvements, comma, and attempt to coordinate land use procedures for consistent decision-making. And last bullet, ensure that utility improvements minimize neighborhood impacts, comma, are environmentally sensitive, comma, aesthetically pleasing, comma, safe, and provided in a timely manner to serve planned growth.
Okay. Again, I'll do the round robin, make sure we're not missing anything. Vice Chair Tessman,
No questions.
Commissioner Kilcup,
Apologies, I have a noisy printer behind me. The first bullet, it says locations like 3 times. It just feels like that could be a little bit cleaner. In terms of the trunk facility locations. And then design or designating routes and locations suitable for facility improvements. I don't know. It seems like that could just be a little cleaned up. Because I think what I'm reading is it's the trunk facility, the routes, and then And that's it, right? That's mostly what we're trying to get at there.
Yes, yeah. I can try to clean that up a little bit, Commissioner, and bring that back to you in a couple of weeks. But you're right, it's, the multiple use of the word locations does seem a little bit awkward.
Yeah. But the intent isn't lost by that. It just seems a little confusing unnecessarily.
Mhm. I can try to work on this, Commissioner, and clean it up. Maybe something like plan for the plan for major or trunk utility facility locations, and consider designating routes suitable for facility improvements subject to development regulations or something like that.
Yeah, that feels better.
All right, I'll work on that and I'll bring something better back the next time.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else, Commissioner Kilcup?
Nothing more for me.
Commissioner Crone?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Lambert?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Smith?
Not on these three.
Okay, I'm good as well. We'll move on to the next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, second slide on utility reliability. To the maximum extent feasible, comma, require the undergrounding of all new electrical and communication lines, comma, the undergrounding of existing lines during road and utility improvements, comma, and or architectural compatibility of all new above ground facilities. Bullet number 2, encourage the joint use of utility corridors for agriculture or passive recreation uses, provided that such uses are consistent with prudent legal and utility practice. And the third bullet, require the joint use or co-location of utility trenches, conduits, and poles to minimize poles and above ground structures, comma, and to provide for the expansion, comma, maintenance and upgrading facilities with the least amount of service disruption.
Okay, got a better question, but I'll go around the room first. Vice Chair Tessman? Vice Chair Tessman, any comment?
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Kilcup?
No questions.
Commissioner Crone?
No questions.
Commissioner Lambert?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
Just one, I guess, as I'm reading it back to myself here on that third bullet, we're saying require the use of blah, 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 conduits and poles to minimize poles and above ground structures. It's kind of sort of seems, just seems to contradict each other in a way. Maybe I'm completely misinterpreting the intent there, but.
Yeah, I can try to simplify that, Mr. Commissioner. I think the intent here is to, whenever possible, to address the location of utilities, so that it minimizes the service disruption to the public. So,
Sort of like-
it works to timing of either utility trenches or putting into service conduits or service poles, for example, and doing it in such a way that that the timing is coordinated and it minimizes, the number of times you need to close a road or impacting traffic.
Can I comment?
Yes, please.
I think if you read it as it require the joint use of poles to minimize the number of poles, so you don't have like a communications pole along with an electrical pole. And then the co-location of utilities and trenches and conduits to get rid of poles altogether. That's, I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I only say that because I work for a utility company.
Good, good.
That's
To make
good.
sure, I've got a question on the first bullet, kind of along those lines. It is a interesting statement, require undergrounding of all new, but also existing lines. I'm curious, I know we've done a lot of work over that over a number of years, but, how much left do we have to do?
Quite a bit. Yeah,
So you think we're 20% done, 30% done?
well,
Existing lines.
I would say it's opportunistic. So eventually, if you were to project out hundreds of years, we would get it all underground, right? In the foreseeable future, we have to look at our CIP. So our capital improvements plan has a few roadway projects where we are really, which are extensive enough to where we are actually redesigning the corridor, where we can take advantage of some of the Puget Sound Energy. They have a, what they call Schedule 71, I think it's called, where Puget Sound Energy will pay for 40% of undergrounding of their utility. So if they have overhead power poles, because they understand that the capital investment to underground their infrastructure is more, but the long-term maintenance is much less. So projecting out into the future, it makes sense for them to pony up, let's say, to get their stuff underground. So if we're coming through and doing a project, trail project, road project, and we're replacing a lot of the utilities, then we obviously reach out to Puget Sound Energy, say we'd like to do the Schedule 70, 61, 71, I can't remember what it is, but we'd like to use the procedure to underground all of the utilities that are on poles. Cleaner, it's nicer design, it's safer, it's, you know, better in every way. So it's just more expensive. So they cover a portion of that cost and that helps out. And it's their utility. So it makes sense.
Okay, well, I know we're also, I mean, you hear the wind outside. So we're opportunistic. Does that also include if there's multiple failures of a vulnerable spot that would make it underground for more reliability?
I would think so. I would think that would generally be led by the utility.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last slide on utility reliability, commissioners. First bullet, increase the resilience of utilities and infrastructure by preparing for disasters and planning for system recovery. Bullet number 2, provide residents with access to high-quality drinking water that meets or is better than state and federal requirements. Bullet number 3, reduce per capita rate of water consumption through conservation, efficiency, reclamation, and reuse. Period. Bullet number 4, replace failing septic systems within the urban growth area with sanitary sewers or alternative technology that is comparable or better. Period. And last bullet, allow natural boundaries to help determine the routes and placement of infrastructure, connections, and improvements. Period.
Okay. There's quite a bit on those 5 bullets. Again, let me do the round robin. Vice Chair Testament, any comment?
None for me.
Commissioner Kilcup?
The only one, and it's really not, I don't think worth making comment on, but bullet 2 just meets. I see that as meets or exceeds state federal requirements, unless there's something about that language that makes sense in regards to drinking water.
Yeah, can we use exceeds rather than better than?
Yes, duly noted.
Yeah, it's more about just language that's more familiar to read for me.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Otherwise, these are great.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Crone?
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert,
No comment.
Commissioner Smith,
Just thinking about the third bullet around water consumption, because I think, you know, obviously the Ridge, you know, thinking about current state of affairs, right? We have an ROA that requires lawns to be maintained and well kept, and you know that tends to run contrary to goals around water consumption. So I was just trying to think about how we might, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be part of a development agreement, and you know the comp plan may or may not be ultimately taken into account when that's created. But you know, if there's any way to make sure we have some teeth in that, so that we are thinking about water conservation and not you know, bending the knees of whatever the ultimate entity might be in their own desires for, you know, beautification, whether that's residential or, you know, even commercial, and having sprinkler systems that maintain nice lush grass and lots of plants and whatnot that may not be the most appropriate for water conservation. There was a lot. I don't know if there's actually a question there as much as it's just a couple of thoughts that popped into my head that I'm trying to think of how we reconcile that with what ends up happening.
yeah, no, that's a very good point. There are whole towns, and the K-word, California was one that basically banned sprinklers for lawns. It says you got to do what is it, like desert landscaping, something or natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you call it?
Xeriscape.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point. Yeah. That's general comment, though. We'll have to figure out how to do that. Okay. I had a question on failing septic systems. Do we have a significant amount of septic systems still within the UGA of Snoqualmie?
We do. We actually have several from in the old part of town. There's several around. One by one, we're picking them off, you know, as they fail. The owner, the property owner, has the option, if they're within 150 feet of one of our utilities, to connect. Of course, they have to pay the general facility charge, and they have to do the work to connect. But yeah, we're trying, and we have what's called a duty to serve, and we have to provide both water and wastewater to anybody in a certain distance of our infrastructure.
Well, then the following question would be, if all the septic systems were hooked up, if all those were suddenly hooked up to our wastewater, do we have capacity for that?
Oh yeah, certainly. There really isn't that many more of them, and
Okay.
and an individual house is essentially one equivalent residential unit. The amount of water is really insignificant.
Okay. Good. Okay. I'm good. Yes.
Can I ask, sorry, one other question? I know I missed my 10, but I just pulled up my water bill real quick and I was wondering, is this the place to put in there, like, when we talk about bullet point number 3, like, for my actual consumption of water, I pay $7.29. If I double that out of a $166 bill, I pay an extra $6. That doesn't exactly encourage me to conserve water. But is this the place for that, kind of like looking at the billing policies?
Yeah, with incentives, I mean, basically, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. That is a good question. I mean, at what point do you put incentives for conservation, financial incentives for conservation? Because basically the point is right now yes.
So we are beginning a utility rate study. FCS, in fact, is doing the utility rate study for us. And we'll be doing that in 2024. Now, there are several ways to structure your utility rates. Typically, we will have a base rate that all customers pay for. And it's the same for everybody within their class, right? So there's commercial class, high commercial, you know, residential. So sticking with residential customers, all residential customers pay the same rate. I think it's based on their meter size too. However, if they go beyond an allotment within that rate, then they pay a surcharge for every, I think it's 100 cubic feet of water or something. Once, you know, so there is a surcharge rate for people who use more water. you could do it strictly based on the meter. You could do it, there's a lot of different ways to structure it. Last time we did the utility rate study, FCS went through those different possibilities with council, and council selected this method. So in 2024, when we have this utility rate update, if we want to have that discussion with council to maybe expand that discussion so that it becomes more of a user fee style rate structure, then we can do that.
Okay, so just to not this is not the place for that. Perfect. That's what I was kind of curious about.
Good point, though. Very good point. Okay. Good. Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last two slides, and these will deal with capital facilities maintenance. So the first bullet here, establish level of service standards to guide delivery of quality services to current and future residents and businesses. Second bullet, consider the impacts of climate change, economic, and health impacts when siting and building essential capital facilities, period. Third bullet, site or expand capital facilities in a manner that considers impacts on historically marginalized communities, period. And the fourth bullet, do not locate capital facilities outside the urban growth area unless it is demonstrated that non-urban sites are the most appropriate location, period.
Okay, again, I'll do the roundtable. Vice Chair Tessman?
Well, my internet just came back just in time, and no questions though.
Commissioner Kilcup?
No comments on those bullets.
Commissioner Crone?
No comments.
Commissioner Lambert?
No comment.
Commissioner Smith?
Nope, I like what we have here. Just wanted to, a quick note, Mr. Chair, apologies. If I turn off my camera and go on mute, I have an after hours contractor coming to troubleshoot an issue here that should be arriving in a few minutes.
Okay. Commissioner Lambert, do you have something to say? I see your hand up. Commissioner Lambert?
No, that was from earlier. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I just had one comment about bullet number 3. I mean, one of the things of we do all this stuff. We want quality of service. We want to be mindful of climate change, but we don't talk about, and we talk about affordable housing when we did the whole housing thing. We don't talk about cost impact. And except for bullet 3, you kind of hint at it. You say, well, we're going to try to consider impact of historically marginalized communities. I mean, we could wind up with the greatest service of utilities, but something that seems affordable suddenly is not affordable at a certain point. So how do we, I don't understand how we do number 3. And again, maybe that's a different conversation, but it just seems like a kind of a motherhood statement. I mean, what tools do we have to help the affordability of the facilities that we're doing?
Yeah, so Mr. Commissioner, I think this bullet here speaks to, I don't think it's quite speaking to affordability, but rather the siting of facilities in areas that are either historically marginalized or, for example, maybe predominantly minority communities. So I think of, for example, in the city of Seattle, and when they cite, for example, a new stadium, for example, and that stadium would be cited in South Seattle, or if they're looking at citing a transfer station, and the area that gets the most discussion would be in the southern part of Seattle again. So citing those facilities in areas that whose voice may not be as loud as others.
Okay, no, I understand the clarification there. Then, one thing we talked about in housing was that there were a lot of things of climate change and economic, that there were incentives built in, that if everybody was aware of them, that they would, they would enable themselves to save money, but they had to be aware of them. And there was some education in that. And I think with facilities, there's a similar thing, at least at the housing level, right? There's the energy saver appliances and things like that. Is this the right place for that, or is that too small? I'm talking about that.
No, I think this would be the right place, and I think that might be, that could fall under, for example, I think that could fall under, Mr. Chair, the third bullet on the previous slide, where we were talking about reducing per capita rate of water consumption. You know, that's done through conservation, efficiency, reclamation, or reuse. I could see that, perhaps encouraging low flow shower heads, or water efficient toilets, for example, that they could fall under the definition of reducing water consumption through efficiency.
Okay. And what about things like we got solar panels on the roof of City Hall and things like that? Is that encompassed in here? Because you got to consider impacts of climate change. Is there incentive to use renewable energies on city? Yes. Community Development Director Arteche.
I think it's a good discussion. I just wanted to just find commission that we haven't talked about it, but we will be doing the climate change element.
Okay.
It might be nice to think about policies now. It's going to require us to do this to kind of grab or assemble all of the proposed draft policies that add value to climate change and climate change element.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's all I have. Any other comments on this slide? Okay, seeing none, let's go to the next one.
Okay, last slide, commissioners. Again, this will be on capital facilities maintenance. First bullet, reduce and mitigate noise and light pollution caused by capital facilities, period. Design capital facilities to achieve community development objectives and improve neighborhoods. Third bullet, plan for long-term renewal or replacement of aging capital facilities as needed to maintain target service levels. And then fourth bullet, coordinate capital investment projects and programs across departments, period.
Okay. Again, round robin one last time for this slide. Vice Chair Tessman.
No, they look good to me. Thank you.
Commissioner Kilcup.
Same for me. They're good.
Commissioner Crone.
No comment.
Commissioner Lambert.
No comment.
Commissioner Smith. Okay, maybe he's stepped out. I also have no, I think these are good. I think these look well written. Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Again, I'll come back at the next meeting with changes that you requested. This goes back to, I have 3 changes notified or notated, excuse me, on utility reliability, simplifying the one statement that includes the words locations several times. I'll work on that. On utility reliability as well, there's a statement regarding co-location of utility trenches, conduits, and poles, and then minimizing poles and above ground structures. I'll wordsmith that and clarify that. And then on, again, also on utility reliability, there's a statement about high quality drinking water that meets or exceeds state and federal requirements, and I'll make that change. And those are the three changes that I have noted.
Okay. And our community development director, Arteche, has also noted some issues. I think you've got, I think you've got them there. We'll make sure we've communicated the input.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate your work and effort on this. I think we're making good progress. One final general question, and maybe it does not apply at all, but is there any need to reference the tribe in the capital facilities portion of this? To mention the Snoqualmie tribe in capital facilities.
Trying to figure that one out.
We are.
Not a bad idea, actually. I know that I can think of one or two comments that they'd like to add into it. So.
Water,
Well, not to rattle this, but for example, they've got a big hotel planned, and I don't know if that's in our plans for capacity of wastewater treatment, but I suspect, okay, it is, but you know, if they were to double the size of that hotel, maybe it ought to be included somewhere in here that there's a coordination.
We have an agreement with them.
Okay.
For that, right? So when they first did the casino, they signed an agreement with the city to provide sewer for them. They have their own water source, so that works for us. So we collect all of their sewage under an agreement. So when they went to expand with the new hotel, we amended that agreement to take on the additional expansion, and we are currently making improvements to the facility. Our wastewater reclamation phase 3 project is done largely with the money, or at least almost half of it is funded by general facility charges, which the tribe has paid us.
Okay,
to do those.
so maybe on that, and I just thought of it now, on that bullet about the interjurisdictional stuff, we may want to say including the Snoqualmie tribe, because it sounds like we're treating them as jurisdiction.
I think we really treat them more as a private customer than we do as a jurisdiction, although they are kind of quasi jurisdictional. I'm not really sure. I mean, we
Okay,
do that
all
through agreement. It's a good point, but I don't, if we were to say interjurisdiction and the tribe, does that
Well, I was gonna
add
say
anything?
including the Snoqualmie.
Including the Snoqualmie tribe. I guess.
Well, I think
couldn't
about it.
hurt.
It may or may not make sense. It just seems like I know there's a lot of conversations where the tribe has an impact and has an input, and
Mhm.
perhaps we just ought to include them. And a lot of it wraps around stuff like wastewater treatment and things like that.
Yeah, we're making increased efforts to try to include their input on policies and design and other improvements around the city. Largely trying to repair a broken relationship that's
Yeah.
existed for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think we're making good progress in that regard.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Mhm.
All right. At this point, I'd like to move on to the fourth agenda item, future agenda. Thank you.
I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, this is working. So I have briefly started the next year's agenda. To finish out this year, though, I want to clarify, will we be canceling the second meeting of December?
Mhm.
Is that on the plan?
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, usually
Okay.
we've canceled that third week, week 3 of December. So I think
Yes.
December 18th, we ought to go ahead and cancel that one.
Okay. All right, so in that case, the introduction to environment will be moving to the following
Yeah.
meeting.
So wait a minute, let me just ask, is that similar to what the council's doing? We're talking about, do we cancel the December 18th meeting? Okay. Okay, let's cancel that.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that for sure.
Okay.
And oh, wait a minute, let's go. So we'll be starting environment at the beginning of the year. I actually believe we might be continuing to work on capital facilities at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, though, commission elections are traditionally scheduled for the first meeting of the year. Other than that, do you have any questions?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, could we do commission elections next meeting, or should we do them in January?
At this time, it might be best to wait until January. The council is going to be considering some additional information similar to maybe some bylaws or a handbook that would help provide more information about the procedures of the planning commission,
no
including
worries.
election. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay. Anything else from your standpoint on future agenda?
Nothing from my view.
Okay, work program?
It's right here.
So this is roughly what we have cut out for us. So, big list.
Yeah, we could, we'll spend some time updating this, but we'll need to add the climate change. It's still on there. I guess it could go under the comprehensive plan update. And then I'm also been alerted to some additional code amendments for the flood improvement permit.
Okay.
So
Yeah, let's call out the climate change as a separate thing. I think if we
Okay.
do that wisely, it can benefit everybody. And if not, we may miss some opportunities.
okay.
Okay. And just a question of the commission. I mean, we don't all show up here, but next month is going to be our last one of the year. Is there any idea of, could we do a potluck next month for the next meeting? You guys up for that? Yeah. Okay. So Commissioner Crone's up for it. Let me go around. How about you, Commissioner Testman? You willing to come in and bring some food?
You assume I'm a good cook, so you might regret it.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. You need to know somebody that's a cook. Yeah.
What date did you say that is again? That's the 8th. That's the
The 4th.
The 4th, December 4th. 7:00.
yeah, that's fine. I
Okay.
will be there.
Very cool. Commissioner Kilcup, you good?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes, I can be there. And also, you don't have to be a good cook, just be a good person that stops at Safeway on your way down.
Noted. Noted.
Yeah, Commissioner Smith? You down for it? No, he had a contractor coming in. Okay, we're gonna sign him up for the most expensive item. We'll think of something.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I
Okay.
can also
Steak.
send out a reminder like a week or so before.
Please do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Outstanding, outstanding. Well, it's been a great year. Look forward to the last meeting and our potluck. Very good. We tried that in the middle of COVID and it didn't work at all. So I'm looking forward to actually doing one of these. All right.
It's a good idea.
Good. Good. All right. With that, let's items of plan commissioner interest. Again, I'll do the round robin. Vice Chair Testman,
None tonight, Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Kilcup,
None for me. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Crone,
None for me, thank you.
Commissioner Lambert,
None for me.
and Commissioner Smith. I think the contractor showed up there. Okay, then. At this, I have none as well, so I'd move that we adjourn the meeting. Can I get a second? Second.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
I,
Meeting is adjourned at 8:22 PM on November 20th, 2023. Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.